Hello, and welcome to the strangest gig I have ever played. True Tales from the studio and the stage. I'm your host, Chris J. Norwood. Welcome to the podcast. Our guest this episode is Isaac Sloane. From Isaac Sloane and the Sound Brigade, a rising star guitar player, singer-songwriter based out of Denton. Really great guy, had a lot of great stories, and this was a fun conversation, and I think you'll enjoy it. So, here he is. Yes, welcome back to The Strangest Gig. Again, I am your host, Chris J. Norwood. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get to our episode today, I just want to let you know that my band, Chris J. Norwood and the Knockdown Dragout, we just put out a new EP, a bonus EP, full of live tracks, demos, alt versions, a really great remix of our song Dancing in the Kitchen featuring Quentin Moore on lead vocals. Quentin just slayed it. It was awesome. Please go check it out. It's now streaming everywhere. Also, we've got a really fun show coming up at the end of May. We'll be at the Double Wide on May 30th with the great Austin soul band Tomar and the FCs. It is going to be one hell of a night. A night full of soul, fun, and good time music. So yeah, come see us. Isaac Sloane is a relative newcomer to the DFW Denton scene, but has already logged quite a few shows. He just picked up the guitar some 7 years ago, and already he's being nominated for Best Blues Guitarist at the Dallas Entertainment Awards. He fronts the band Isaac Sloane and the Sound Brigade, really awesome blues, rock, jazz, psychedelic fusion band out of Denton. Full rhythm section and 2 saxophone players, tenor and alto. They've got a really great sound, and as I said, they've already logged quite a few shows all over the metroplex, and you could definitely go see them at a venue near you. He had a lot of great stories, and this was a fun conversation, so let's dive in. Here he is. Let's go ahead and jump in. Isaac, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on. We've been buds for a long time, and this will be really cool. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So tell me about your current gig. Just tell me about yourself and what you got going on.
Well, my name's Isaac Sloane, and I front my own band called Isaac Sloane and the Sound Brigade, which is kind of we always have a hard time telling people what genre it is because it's kind of everything. It's like a soul, psychedelic, rock and roll, jazz fusion band. So it's a little bit of, a little bit of everything.
We haven't played together in a while, but one of the last times we played together, you were playing with a violin player too. Do you still play with the violin player?
No, he has kind of taken a different path in life. Okay. And so he's really not playing music at all anymore. Oh, really? Okay. But yeah. And he's an incredibly talented musician, which is a shame to see him not playing a lot. But he's doing the family man thing now. Yeah. So cool. He's like, sorry guys, but I don't exactly have time to play in a band. It's like, understandable.
For sure. So it's the band is 4-piece guitar, bass, drums, keys, and then 2 saxophones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then how did you land on that lineup? And I mean, were you like building a sound with that lineup in mind, or did that lineup kind of happen and then you kind of adapted to the lineup?
I grew up on the Allman Brothers in Chicago.
Okay.
So horn and Tower of Power, horn music has always been like one of my favorite types of music. And it actually happened just on Facebook. I put a message in the DFW groups. I was like, hey man, I'm a guitar player. I got some songs I wrote. Anybody want to jam? And Michael, played with you. Michael was the one that responded, and he tells me like he was just drunk one day, and he was on Facebook drunk, and he was like, what the hell, I'll go. And then we showed up, and sure enough, it kind of clicked.
That's cool.
And he was like, hey man, my roommate also plays saxophone. Would you be cool if he joined? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so it was just me and 2 saxophone players for probably a month and a half. Yeah. Just kind of seeing if, personalities matched right and if we could get anything going. And sure enough, it clicked pretty quickly. And then his roommate, Denicio, was like, hey, dude, I work with a drummer and a bass player. Like, I could invite them over to do it. And I was like, yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah. And as soon as we had our first rehearsal, it was like that, gates of heaven opening up moment where you're like, oh, dude, And that was like, as soon as we all played together the first time, it was like, all right, there's something definitely here. And it's just been a journey since then.
I love it's two, you're talking about horn bands. I love the two horns in your band, but it's not the typical, sax and trumpet. It's two saxes, tenor and alto.
Yeah, and it does have a unique...
Yeah, it does.
Kind of, it's higher in the range, but it has like a unique sound that not other horn bands, like you're saying, that they have the kind of the stereotypical setup.
Yeah.
That's a little bit deeper and gruntier. We have the very high-end sound to it with just the two horns, and it comes off as a very unique kind of thing.
Well, and it actually, like you're talking about, it's kind of the high-end, just like sonically, with that and your guitar tone blends really well, which is super cool.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Got lucky. Yeah.
So where all of y'all started in Denton, just kind of playing the Denton scene?
Our first, we played enough gigs now, I'm starting to forget about them, but the first handful were kind of around Denton, but we got into like Fort Worth and Deep Ellum pretty quickly.
Yeah. And
that's Deep Ellum and Fort Worth is kind of our home base at this point.
Okay.
Like we play there way more than we play in Denton.
Really?
So we're playing, kind of touring around regionally, but home base for us is definitely like Deep Ellum area.
Cool. What is your sense of the Denton scene?
I don't want to talk smack on Denton, but it's not what Denton has this vibe of being this music town, but it's a very niche sound that's popular in Denton, and if you're not in that niche, they do not care.
What's the niche?
House shows, punk bands, kind of thing, which is cool. Punk music, for sure, great, but with us, a bunch of we show up in suits and we got horns.
Yeah,
they do not understand that, I guess, or they don't care about it. So, like, we have a group of fans in Denton that really dig us, but everyone else is like, I don't really care. It's not aggressive enough for me, and they don't really do it, which is why we fell into the Denton or the Dallas scene, because they're way more accepting of, musical kind of out there-ness.
Yeah, the Denton scene has always struck me as just kind of like you're saying. It's a little like it's hard to pin down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because obviously there's the jazz, the jazz program, but like other than that, there's like a pretty like big punk presence there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is kind of bizarre to me.
Or it's kind of punk, like you got the Wee Beasties and bands like that, and super punk side, and then the singer-songwriter honky tonker. That's kind of like the two things going on. Everything else is kind of hit or miss with Denton.
What are the like the venue, like the go-to venues in Denton? Obviously there's Rubber Gloves and Dan's. Is that kind of it?
For us, it's Harvest House. Harvest House is, in my opinion, the best venue in Denton. And then Dan Silverleaf is behind that. Rubber Gloves is mostly a punk venue.
Yeah, okay.
From what I could tell. We've played there a couple of times. It's the same thing as people like, they either really like us or they absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
And there's no in the middle, really. But, Harvest House for sure is our top spot.
Yeah. I've played there. It's a cool space.
It is cool, yeah.
There. And then what's your impression of the Dallas and Fort Worth scenes, respectively?
Fort Worth is very honky-tonk, obviously.
Yeah.
You got the Stockyards area, very honky-tonk driven. But it's accepting.
Yeah.
Like, they're down to try out anything.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And then, of course, Dallas is like a melting pot.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is... If you're good, you're good in Dallas. They don't care if you're a rapper or if you got a 25-piece ska band. If you're good, they're going to show up and dig it.
Where's your favorite place in Dallas to play?
Ooh. Well, technically, my two favorite spots are places we haven't played yet.
Yeah.
Which would be the Kessler and Longhorn.
Yeah.
But Double Wide, really cool. It's a cool spot. We played Ruins, very unique area.
Did you like playing there at Ruins?
We had a weird kind of booking.
It was early, like they do like a 6 o'clock start time.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but the venue itself is really cool.
Okay,
it's got a vibe about it. We played pretty much everywhere in Deep Ellum at this point. 8 Airs is pretty fun. 8 Airs Saloon. We played the Granada Theater in February.
How was that?
That was so cool.
Yeah.
That's like the peak venue for me in Dallas was Granada. That was like the second I started playing music, I was like, one day I want to play there. And then Guillermo hit me up one day and was like, hey man, would you like to play Granada?
Yes.
And I was just like, duh.
Yeah.
And then it just worked out. But it was kind of a magical thing. Cool. And luckily the bookers for Granada were there and they all were digging it. So they were like, hey man, the right bill shows up at Granada, we'll be giving you a call.
Awesome.
I was like, sweet. Get to play there some more.
Did you meet Tara?
No, I know Tara, and we got a show at Sundown in May. So I've been talking to her on emails, but I've never met her in person before. Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
She seems pretty cool though. Just she's very, open to booking ideas at least, which is nice.
Yeah, Tara's great. So how did you tell me about you and like getting started? How did you get started on the guitar?
I'm a kind of a late bloomer, I guess. I was an athlete growing up.
Really? Mm-hmm.
I played drums as a kid, but that was only because my dad was a lifelong musician, touring musician. So I grew up in bars and venues watching him play.
What kind of music did he play?
Same kind of thing, kind of blues rock fusion stuff. Cool. And
did he play guitar?
Yeah, he's
cool.
To this day the best guitar player I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because he's my dad. It's like he's legit. He was doing like Eddie Van Halen stuff 10 years before Eddie Van Halen was doing it.
Wow.
I mean, long story with him, but anyways, he was playing all the time, so I was kind of around it, but I was a baseball player, and music was like, music's cool, but I don't really care about doing it.
Yeah.
And I got a college scholarship out of high school, and went and played ball in college, and just got destroyed. My arm got destroyed, where I literally couldn't play anymore. And I kind of just had this thought pop into my head. I was like, oh, you know what? Might as well, try the music thing. We'll start picking at the guitar and see what happens. I was 20 when I picked it up.
Yeah. How old are you now?
27.
Holy shit, man. Like, that's a pretty...
Yeah.
You've come a long way in 7 years.
Well, I don't do drugs, but guitar playing is my drug.
That's your drug, yeah.
Like, I'm literally addicted to it.
Yeah. So
it's like, when I'm at work, it's the only thing I'm thinking about. It's like, how do I get better? How do I do something that not everybody else is doing? It's like kind of eating at me all the time to keep getting better. So the drive for that was just kind of natural, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've only been playing for, I guess, 7 years now.
Man, kudos. That's awesome.
Coming back to my dad, I had this like world-class player as a teacher. So he helped me make, like 10, 15 years worth of progress in 7 because he told me what to concentrate on and what to not pay attention to, and it all helped out a lot.
Yeah. Who are your like biggest guitar influences?
Well, it started out with, the big three, Clapton and Hendrix, and then Stevie being a Texan. And then it moved on to, I learned what arpeggios were listening to Larry Carlton.
Yeah.
And the Kid Charlemagne solo. I learned how to play that note for note and was like, oh, that's what arpeggios are. That's how you do them. And then that evolved listening to Jeff Beck and John McLaughlin. And then recently I kind of picked up listening to Steve Morris, who that guy is a monster guitar player. And Al Di Meola and guys like that into the fusion kind of realm. But, and of course, Leslie West, that guitar tone with the first Mountain record, which I found out is basically a cheap amp turned all the way up to the point where they blew him up doing recordings. But the power that he had playing and the vibrato he had is kind of what I aimed my vibrato after. Was kind of in between Clapton and him, kind of in that middle ground. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of the standard guys that everyone listens to, and then kind of leaning into the jazz fusion side of stuff.
Right on. What? Tell me about your gear. What's your setup these days?
Well, I just recently bought that Blues Hawk off of Guillermo, that Gibson. So that's what I'm playing now with the double P90s in it, and I've got a 100-watt Marshall stack that I play it through, and a Earthquaker pedal. That's it. That's it.
Meat and potatoes.
Yep, meat and potatoes. I want to start getting into the Univibe pedal that Hendrix always used to use, and maybe a phaser and a couple of cheap effects, but for the most part, just the meat and potatoes play with the volume knob and how you play the guitar.
Yeah, I feel like the P90s works really well for you for your sound.
Screaming. Yeah, it's real nice.
That's great. And then, what are your plans with your band, the Sound Brigade? Like, what's kind of the next what's kind of the next step for y'all? We talked a little bit ago that y'all are trying to work on an album.
That's kind of the big one, the big plan for the near future is we have a concept for an album, and we've been doing it for about 3 years now, so it's time for an album.
Is it a concept album?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's kind of loosely based off of the Divine Comedy.
Okay, cool.
And without going too much into it, that's kind of the loose basis of it. And it's a lot of, numerology kind of stuff going on with it. But we're going to hopefully start working on that, start tracking this in May, beginning of May.
Cool. And
then other than that, it's just we're trying to find a booking manager, you know. So I'm doing all the booking on my own and the promotion on my own and everything right now, and I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
But obviously, finding a team.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's what they do. It would help out a lot.
It's huge.
But we're just trying to play as much as we can and then record.
Yeah.
It's kind of what's going on.
And then you just got awarded Best Blues Guitarist, right? By Dallas Entertainment Awards?
Well, I didn't win, but I was up for the nomination, yeah.
Man, that's still that's a cool thing that they're doing, so that's really huge for you.
Desi, cool dude. I've never met him in person, but I've talked to him a few times on Instagram. What he's doing with that awards show is kind of putting Dallas, it's kind of opening up a real scene for Dallas, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And, I was not expecting the Guitarist nomination, which was super cool. And then we're 2 years in a row Best Blues Band.
Oh, y'all did win.
We didn't win, but we're 2 years nominated for it, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool,
So
man.
we're starting to get recognized a little bit around here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's talk about when was the Sound Brigade's first gig? How long have y'all kind of been going now?
Would have been the very beginning of the year in 2022.
Okay. And was that your first gig, or did
No,
you...
I'd been playing with the guy I live with now. His name's Ramiro Muniz. He had a band called Maya, and I was playing guitar in that. So I kind of we probably played, I don't know, 25 or 30 gigs with that band. Mm-hmm. So I had a little bit of gigging experience. Yeah. But then some stuff happened with that, and I got out of that and decided I wanted to start writing my own stuff. And so got into writing music, and then the whole thing came together. Yeah. But our first Brigade gig was, 2022, the very beginning. So you're still, all things considered, relatively new at this. Oh,
you say?
Yeah, very much.
That's cool.
New, yeah.
Well, you have accomplished quite a lot in
I appreciate
3
it.
years,
yeah,
4 years.
Had a lot of good guidance. You know, a lot of the kind of established Dallas people, you included, have kind of taken us under your wing a little bit and pointed us in the right direction, the do's and don'ts of the scene.
Right.
Which has helped out a lot. We've, which bookers to work with, which ones to stay away from, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in that time, as I've talked to lots of people, everybody's had a weird one. So tell me now about the strangest gig you've ever played.
Oh, I got a couple.
Let's hear. We can hear them all. We got lots of time.
Well, one of them was with the Brigade, and the other two main ones were just a solo thing I was doing. But with the Brigade one, we got asked to come do this festival thing. Mm-hmm. Supposed to be some a peace festival or whatever, and we were like, all right, cool, that'll be fun.
Where was it?
Well, they didn't give us a whole lot of details on that one. And turns out it's at this guy's house, and the whole thing's in the garage. And there's 200 people in this house that's not big enough for 200 people.
Yeah.
And so we do the show, and everybody's digging it, and we're having a good time. And the guy that kind of organized the whole thing, he we get done playing, and he kind of awkwardly walks up to us, and he's like, hey, so we don't have money to pay you. And when we got to the venue, we kind of figured it was we're not getting paid for this.
Yeah.
But he goes, man, we don't exactly have money to give you, but he was like, you guys like weed?
Oh.
And we were like, I'm not much of a smoker, but everybody else in the band kind of was doing it, and they were like, yeah, dude, cool. And he gave us a ridiculous amount
Whoa.
of weed, like bags full of it. It had to have been $600 or $700 worth of weed, probably.
Wow.
And he's just like, yeah, man, here you go, and just like handed it to us, and we were like,
Right
word,
on.
all
Yeah,
right.
Getting paid in weed, that's so like 70s.
Yeah, it was. Well, the whole vibe of the place was 70s. Everybody was just like, the peace and love thing. Everybody was just hanging out, and nobody had shoes on in the whole place. It was real.
That's wild.
Real hippie vibe, but it was cool. Everybody was nice, but yeah, it just, we couldn't help but laugh. It was like, wow,
That's
just got
awesome.
we got paid in more weed than we would have got paid in money for sure. And he I had my guitar case open, and he dropped 4 or 5 like pre-rolled joints just into my case. I was like, there you go, dude. I was like, word, all right.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Tell me about some of the others.
We had, well, this one actually, another brigade one. We had a gig at this place called the Cantina. It's in Weatherford. And so we show up, and it's another one of those, like, we're not expecting much type of gigs. And because Weatherford's kind of a sleepy little town, and the gig was outside in front of the bar, like on a patio thing. And so here comes this 6-piece, loud rock and roll band to play. It's like a singer-songwriter size stage, very small. And we're setting up, and there's nobody there, and we're just like, oh, this is going to suck. And then out of nowhere, people just appeared. And there was like 75 or 80 people show up, and they're all really into what's going on. I don't know if there were drugs involved or what was going on, but they were into it. And they were like mosh pitting to What Love Is, which is like a, soul song. Yeah. And they're like mosh pitting like it's Slipknot. And so we get done with the show, and everybody's hanging out and talking to us. And they're like, man, you guys are great. Y'all are the best band we've ever had here in Weatherford. And we're like, oh, dude, I appreciate that. Thanks. He was like, yeah, man, we had a festival last weekend, and Blue Oyster Cult was here. Oh. You guys blew them off the stage. And I was like, okay, cool. That's probably the best compliment we've ever had. Yeah. Awesome. But it was so weird. And then it was just like, they kind of disappeared the same way they showed up. Just into thin air. It was like, who were those people? It made no sense to us. Yeah. But it ended up being like one of the most fun gigs we've had, because people were like guitars to where I am away from us, just in our face, and they were loving it. It was pretty cool.
I love those kind. Yeah, those are great.
And I had one gig where, 2 gigs actually. These are, if we ever like make it real big, this will be in a book somewhere someday. Yeah. But me and that kid I mentioned earlier, Ramiro, we were both doing solo gigs, and both the gigs were in Denton, but at different venues. So he was like, "Hey man, let me ride with you." I was like, "Okay, cool." So we load the amps and the guitars in the car, and I had a '97 Mustang GT. Yeah. And I'd done some work to it, so it was pretty peppy little car. And we get out onto Carroll, which is like one of the main roads in Denton, and I see a car coming up on me, so I have to kind of stomp on it, and the throttle gets stuck like wide open.
Oh no!
And I immediately start panicking. I'm like, uh-oh. And of course it fishtails sideways into the highway, and there's cars everywhere, and I'm just trying to dodge out of the way of the cars. Yeah. And I finally kind of get control of it, and I go to press the clutch in, and as soon as I did that, the wheels like hooked back up, and it kicked us sideways, threw us off the highway. Like the car went in the air, and we landed on the left 2 wheels and skidded, and then it like rolled back onto all 4. Whoa. And Ramiro, not wearing a seatbelt, because the gig was like right down the street, so we didn't think about it. And he flies out of his seat, lands in my lap, and we're sitting there, and there's like smoke everywhere, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, my car's totaled, I know it is. Yeah. And he's just sitting there like, his neck's kind of hurt, and he's like, oh, dude, are you all right? I'm like, I'm good, are you okay? Yeah. He's like in my lap. And we were like, yeah, we're good. So we get out of the car, and I fully expect the car to just be trash. Yeah. And the wheels blown out, and some of the stuff damaged on the side, but it's surprisingly in decent shape. And so we're like, well, we still got to go play this gig. Yeah. And so we leave the car off the side of the road and pull our stuff out, and then walk 3 miles to where the gig is with our amp and our guitar on our shoulder. And then I was like, man, I'll deal with this car after the gig. And then we just go and play the show. And I'm walking back, and I'm fully expecting the car to have been towed off. It's
Yeah.
like the cops showed up, because there's like hundreds of cars that watched the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
Nobody stopped to see if we were okay, by the way. They just were like,
Yeah.
they were just like,
That's
well,
not
that's
cool.
crazy, and kept driving. But I fully expected the car to not be in there anymore. And we walked back, and sure enough, there it is in a ditch still,
Wow.
just sitting there.
Man, that's dedication to go and play the gig.
Yeah, we were like, backs all jammed up.
Yeah.
We're kind of feeling not so great. We're like, well, we got to go do these gigs. So
Yeah.
it was like literally like 3 miles to where the venue was from where we were, and we had to
that's
walk
brutal.
all the way there and all the way back for it. But
That's brutal.
we were laughing with each other walking. We're like, man, they're gonna. If any of us do anything of note in our lives, this will be in that story somewhere.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool. I love
And,
hearing about the bad ones.
Yeah, have you ever heard of Soul Kitchen?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a jam band in Denton.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little more about them. Is it just like a weekly kind of jam session?
They do every other Wednesday at Harvest House.
Okay.
They've been doing it for 20 years now.
Wow.
You know, he's the leader of it. He's been running it for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And they nobody ever rehearses. They don't have songs. They just start with a groove, and then everybody improvises.
Cool.
And the gigs are like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So it's just a 3-hour jam session pretty much. And it's always really cool to do it as a musician, because you really learn how to pick up on what everybody else is doing and know your place.
Yeah.
Not overplay, just pick a lane and kind of stay in it. It's
That's
really cool. But one of the shows, I just recently started playing with them, and it's the same kind of story as the car accident one.
Yeah.
I had a crazy weird chest attack, and it freaked me out, and I was laying in bed, and my heartbeat started just going super fast, and my body was like tensing up, and I couldn't move. My phone was on my nightstand, which is right next to my bed, and I couldn't reach it to call the ambulance.
Oh gosh,
was how bad it was.
scary.
I was like totally locked down, and I'm freaking out. And I'm literally sitting there going like, well, this is probably it.
Yeah.
Because I was the only one in the house. I couldn't move at all.
That's scary.
And I was like, this might be the one. And I'm just laying there like locked down, and it was probably 2.5 minutes of that, and then my heartbeat dropped back down to normal, and my muscles let go.
Yeah.
And I was laying there, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm okay. But I was so terrified. I didn't go to bed at all. So I had to get up the next morning to go to work, and I'm worn out. I feel like I did a super big, full body workout type, just exhausted.
Yeah.
And I tell my boss, I'm like, hey, man, I'm not doing great. Let me go to the clinic and get checked out. And he's like, yeah, dude, of course. So I go to the local clinic, and I tell the lady in there what kind of happened. And she puts what's that machine that measures your...
The EKG?
Yeah, she does one of those on me. And she doesn't say anything. She kind of walks out of the room. And I'm sitting there, and she comes back in 5 minutes later. She's like, you need to go to the hospital, right now. And so now I'm kind of like, oh, shit, all right.
Right.
And so I get in the car and drive back to Denton, because I work in Gainesville. So I had to go all the way down 35 to get back to Denton. And I go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And they stick me with the needles and do the whole thing. And they basically tell me, they're like, yeah, you had a minor heart attack.
Whoa.
And I'm 27, so and I'm a little overweight, but I'm not
you're
shouldn't
not
be having
unhealthy,
heart attacks. So I was kind of freaking out. I was like, what are you talking about? He's explained it to me, and he was like, we don't think there's any permanent damage, but whatever you're doing, if it's stress or if you're a heavy smoker or whatever, you need to stop doing it. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm not super stressed out, and I don't smoke a lot. So I was like, I don't know what I need to change.
Yeah.
But, and so they released me out of the hospital, and I have to go play Soul Kitchen.
Yeah.
So I literally go from the emergency room straight to the stage at Soul Kitchen. I still have the wristband on my arm.
Band.
And we do the show, and one of my buddies, Andy Rogers, he's the banjo player in Wilder Blue. He also plays with them, and he just happens to see the wristband, and he's like, we're standing next to each other on stage jamming. He's like, yo, dude, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I don't even look at him. I'm like, yeah, I had a heart attack, but I'm good. And he's just like, what? And he just was like, all right, well, I guess if you say you're all right, then we just go back to playing. But I was like, yeah, man, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And I told Michael about it. He was like freaking out. He's like, "You had a what? Why are you here right now?" I was like,
man.
"Dude, I had the gig. I had to come play."
At the gig.
So nobody can say
Dedication.
I'm not dedicated
Yeah,
to it.
man, full on. I love that. That's great. Tell me, let's talk now about your dream gig, and that can be like, dream venue, dream bill, dream person to work with, whatever that means to you.
Well, venue easy, Red Rocks.
Yeah.
That's the one for us for
That's,
sure.
man, like this. You're like my 30th person interview, and that's about half the answers.
Yeah.
It's always Red Rocks.
It's just
for me
such
too,
a cool
man.
place.
Have you ever been there?
No,
Yeah.
but Michael and Denise are both from Wyoming, and they go to Colorado all the time, so they've all been there. And yeah, but it's such
amazing, man. I've been to a
the
couple
beauty
shows.
of it.
Yeah, it's. I could see any band there, and it would be an amazing show.
Yeah, for sure. But Red Rocks, there's also a place in Tennessee that's pretty cool. It's called The Cave, and that's literally what it is. It's a venue inside a cave.
That's cool, yeah.
Which would be pretty cool to play. But Red Rocks with like Tedeschi Trucks Band on the bill, or maybe Marcus King or something like that would kind of fit us pretty well, I think.
That'd be awesome.
And that would be a really cool show. That'd be the type of place that you never forget, for sure. Type of gig.
Well, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
It's been so fun getting to hang out with you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
First podcast I've ever done.
Right on. Well, I'm glad it's us.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. All right, there he goes. Thanks so much to Isaac Sloane for being on the podcast. That's Isaac Sloane and the Sound Brigade. Y'all, please be sure to go check them out at a venue near you. They play all the time, all across the metroplex. They are awesome, and they will not disappoint. So I highly encourage you to go check them out, support them. I want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in. I greatly appreciate your support. If there's one thing you could do, if you consider yourself a fan of The Strangest Gig, if you could tell a friend, spread the word, let the people know about what we're doing here, and that'd be a really awesome thing for us. If you yourself are a musician with a pretty funny strange gig story, hit me up. My email is chris@chrisjnorwood.com. Let's get you on the podcast. Let's get you heard. And until next time, if you find yourself playing a Peace and Love Festival, getting paid in bags of weed, just remember, gig's a gig, right?